Yeah. So I just take a couple of minutes while I get my charts ready to present. To introduce myself a little bit. Um, I've been in this domain space for about 35 years of federal service. I did almost 30 years with the Department of Army, and my last assignment there was as the Logistics Engineering Division Chief, where I um, was in charge of a lot of things, including some software development and also um, uh, the specs and standards that underlying that have been spoken about today. Everything from 1388 as we navigated through its cancellation to the revision of MILF Handbook 502 Alpha to which I was a primary editor for that one. The 007 and the 0007 SAE specifications that are out there currently in use by the department today, and some of our many of our global allies. Specifications like SAE 1390, the LoRa spec. All that was done in my organization at the time. Since then, I've moved on to Defense Acquisition University, where I enjoy some time in the classroom, sharing my experiences and knowledge. And in addition to that, I have a lot of opportunity to provide consulting services to the department, both in the form of doing studies on specifications such as the S series, as well as doing assisting departments such as Department of Navy and doing a study on our newest super aircraft carrier like the Gerald R. Ford, and other systems such as that. So I bring a vast amount of experience from a department perspective, and would be thrilled to be able to share some of that experience with y'all today. Um, if there's, I'm happy to present. Um, okay, my PowerPoint presentation just crashed on me. Give me just a second. I'm going to relaunch it. Apologies for all that. I had this queued up, but it decided to just crash on me. And we gotta love technology, don't we? Seems like live is never as smooth as you want it to be. And here we go. Oh, and I've got to share it first. And now we should be sharing. All right. So I too want to talk a little bit about the past, some historical activities. So I think the first thing I want to do is talk about the what kind of some of the driving factors that got us to integrated product support, and in particular the Mohawk, right? I doubt there may be a few out there, but I doubt there are many that are still out there that maybe remember this system. It was fielded. It was fielded in 1959, And along with the fielding, it came with all of these nice pieces of support equipment that were unique to it. As a matter of fact, these pieces of support equipment numbered in excess of 100 pieces of unique support equipment. So I think it was a bonanza for a design engineer to be able to design all this stuff, but a nightmare for the logistician to have to maintain. And any time this maintenance needed to occur on this aircraft, we needed to have all of this support equipment available wherever it was going to be maintained. So these are some of the activities that we found ourselves in the post-war era, World War II era, and so we were really needing to really optimize our support infrastructures and really conduct integrated logistics support. And I use the term integrated um, in a much broader sense, meaning not just integrated within the system itself, but integrated across systems. So just think about that as I work down through this. As we look at this example, I also wanted to go back to a 1981 Air Force brief. And in the 1981 Air Force brief, it quotes 1964 policy. All right. And if you look at this briefing chart, you begin to realize that this is not a new concept. This is, this is not new science. It is, we are refining it. We're getting better at it, but yet still sometimes we struggle. We still struggle with getting it right. And I think I really enjoyed Katrina's briefing that talked about how we have to have the ability to be committed to doing these activities upfront and early. So to me, it makes a lot of sense that we have a lot of uh, a lot of commitment and understand and a greater understanding. It's been talked about that we needed to have passion for our subject. It's been talked about that we need to have become more educated about what we're doing and to share that with others. There's been a lot of great and excellent points made up to this point in time. And so, in order to kind of address the key questions here, some of the case studies I look at, another thing we kind of have to keep in mind, it's also been addressed that we have systems that are out there and living or in service longer than what we originally designed them for. I mean, at one point in time, we were designing them for a 20-year life cycle. Now we talk about 30-year life cycle. The reality is very, very few of our systems are being used for just 20 or 30 years. They're virtually all have significant life extension programs. For example, we saw some great examples provided by the Australians. We also see examples here for the U.S. Department of Defense. We have the B-52. The B-52 was originally put in service in 1955, right? Turboprop engines, and our premier bomber for the United States Air Force. We now have life extension programs for that system to 2035, currently in place. So that means it's going to be 80 years old when the current life extension programs expire. 80 years, right? Oh, but wait, there are additional life extension programs beyond that birthday in place, or you know being put in place. And so we could actually have a one of our premier systems see a century of service. So just think about that for a minute. Just if you just pause and think about that for just a moment. Uh, a life cycle support plan for 100 years of service. Who would have thought? And almost nobody would have thought that. But here's the good news about that. The good news is that every time we go through a major milestone C review, a major program upgrade, we get an additional opportunity to insert ILS or integrated product support, right? We get another opportunity to take a bite at that apple. So just the fact that ILS really didn't exist in 1955 when we built the B-52 doesn't mean we don't have opportunities to to insert that into the program as we go through major milestone updates and program changes and upgrades. For example, I mean, it's got jet engines on it now, right? It doesn't have the turboprop engine. I'm sure the avionics in it has changed a dozen times. Well, maybe not a dozen, but multiple times. But the fact of the matter is every time we do a major update, we have these opportunities to say, hey, let's do better ILS, let's do better IPS, and make this system a much more supportable system. And our history shows that we will get better, more opportunities to take a bite at that apple. So does that mean we can slack off early on and say, well, we'll fix it at a later version or a later revision of the system? No, it does not mean that. It means that we need to get it right the first time if we can. And if we miss our opportunity, well, we do potentially have another opportunity, but let's not miss those opportunities as they come along. So the second question I was asked to talk about and was the path forward, meaning what single development would further enhance the benefits of ILS in the USA and across the globe. And as it has been mentioned, I really believe that the digital engineering path forward that DoD has adopted, this policy came out late last year in December of 2023, that really drives the department to adopt digital engineering practices. This to me is the most exciting single development in our ability to develop good project, good through life product support strategies. There are other significant pieces as well too, but this particular DoD instruction really talks to this digital engineering model and includes digital threads throughout the enterprise, right? And these digital threads uh, uh, help enable the opportunity that we have to get that data from those engineering twins, those engineering models, the engineering designs, to bring that right directly into product support. One of the things that I spent virtually 35 years of my career doing is trying to figure out how we get that data directly from the engineering model directly into our product support systems without having to be manually translated or even go through some sort of translator or something to get that data directly linked into our product support systems. And so we are getting closer than we've ever been before, but with the significance of this impact, to be able to bring that digital thread throughout the life cycle, from engineering design to manufacturing, from engineering design to product support, as we look across that entire digital architecture. To me, I think this becomes the key piece of the construct to help us connect these dots in a way that they're more than just connected, just interfaced, but rather fully integrated. And that's why I mentioned that the I in ILS or integrated or IPS is that integration, not just within product support, not just within the 12 or 13 integrated product support elements, but again, that full integration across the architecture, across the enterprise between engineering and the product support activities, including within product support, obviously, things like training and technical publications and everything, so that when that engineering team makes a design that changes our product structure, that we understand the impacts of that across the entire enterprise. Product support, tech publications, all of that becomes instantly aware. Everyone becomes aware of the changes, and now we can begin and conduct new activities and new analyses to assess the impacts of those changes. And and so I think, to me, this whole digital framework gives us our this is, to me, the most exciting thing that we have about this upcoming um, uh, the biggest impact to me to the that will benefit ILS in the future. Now, what am I most excited about? What makes me most optimistic about the future? Well, in also included are two other major policies that the DoD has come out with. And you're like going, wait a second. Why? How is policy exciting and make me optimistic? So during my career, I've seen the 5000 series, the .02 series, go from mandating the use on every system of not only 1388, but mandating the use of approved, validated software systems. In other words, we had the validated software system that did ILS to be able to use it even on a DoD system. From that structure and that strict structure to about 15 years ago, there was not even a single word in the 5002, not a single word about product support, about supportability analysis. Not a single word in that document. To me, that was so frightening when I saw that we'd strayed so far from the focus of our lessons learned in the past. And again, go back to those charts that I started out with. You know, that Air Force chart that says this is critical things that we need to do from the, in the 80s, referring back to the 60s, right? So we so totally lost the focus of product support or supportability analysis as close as 15 years ago, that it was, to me, it was a travesty that we'd lost those lessons learned of the past. But today we have two very good instructions in the DoD that talk to not only supportability analysis, product support analysis, and the language in there is strong enough, because in government we don't tell government organizations you shall do something. We tell contractors you shall do something. But the equivalent language for government is you will do something. Will is not negotiable to a government organization. When there's a policy or directive that says you will do this, that is the same as the contract language with a contractor when we say you shall do this. So both of these documents, the .91 and the .88, which is an engineering document, right? And we rely so much on the engineers to do these analyses that it very clearly states that the PM and the product support manager will include supportability analysis, and lists a great list of them there, right? And as a part of their integral systems engineering process. So it's not an option for the engineers, and it's not an option for the product support managers. These are activities that we will do. Along with this digital engineering, the 97 that I briefly talked about, all these pieces are now coming together. We have really clear, strong guidance and directives from the Defense Department. Now, given this foundation, to me, I see that it's in the hands of the services or any military organization to take this clear direction. It's more than direction, these clear requirements, and take them and figure out how to put them in place. So fortunately, the last 6 years, my being at DAU has given me that opportunity to assist and to help program offices accomplish this. I've got a lot of a passion about this. I believe with everything in my heart that we have all the pieces out there that we can begin to assemble. We have good policy. We have strong leadership in the department, including many of the services have strong leadership too that want us to be successful in this domain space. So for me, between the leadership, the clear policy and direction, and the digital environment that we are moving towards, I think we have set ourselves up for the best potential success ever. And before I retire, one of my goals was to make sure that to try and figure out how to enable this and get us through there. And whether that's through adopting specific standards, whether it's through developing new or adjusting existing standards, whether it's helping to guide and direct additional policy, even at the lower levels, whatever it takes, education, which is one of my passions, whatever it takes, let's work together. Let's bring our product support specialists along with our engineering teams, bring them together into a single team and work these activities and work them together as teammates. To me, it is a critical activity. Whether we use the term ILS or IPS, of course, I have my preference, and that is integrated product support. It doesn't matter as long as we're doing the activities. Whatever we want to call it, let's call it whatever we want to call it, and let's move forward. And I leave you that with a sense of passion and sharing. Um, and I will hopefully um, be able to answer questions. I know there's not a live audience at this point in time, but as you have questions, let us know. Reach out, and VJ will be happy to facilitate a lot of that.